GTT. Not sure if your studio's audio sounds competitive? A sound check by George the Tech removes all doubts and explains the next steps. Audiobooks, podcasts, voiceovers. For content creators, we do it all. New customers get 20% off their first service with a coupon code on your screen.
George the Tech.
I want to create the community around it. And the reason I chose the name Career Path is because everybody has to chart their own journey. I'm going to give you the roadmap, how you interpret that roadmap and how you want to get from what you see as your starting point to your end point. My final destination is not necessarily somebody else's final destination, but I can give you the roadmap so that you can then chart that journey and get where you need to go. That's what Career Path is about. And that's my big class right now that I want to offer to everybody, along with the other things in technical and performance. I want to educate people the right way because most of the people out there are providing the thing that they know in their niche. And that's great. And that's what I'm doing with Career Path. But a lot of people study with their performance coaches as they should. They get demo ready. They get a demo. And then that's it. They're cut off. They're like, okay, I've got my demo. I'm ready to go. But are you though? And because I get the panicked questions from everybody and have for years. Oh my gosh, I got this audition. I don't know what to do. What do I label the file? They don't even know how to do a directed session or what a directed session means. When you focus on performance, those coaches are focusing on the performance as they should. That's what they do. That's what they're being hired for. But then once the people are out in the wild and on their own, they don't know what they don't know. They don't know taxes. What do I do about taxes?
George the Tech.
Hi, everybody. George the Tech, continuing our series of interviews with our trusted partners. And we've been getting a blessed list of amazing people in the chair today, or in their chair in this case, because all of these interviews are remote, of course. And with me today from Tennessee Voiceover Studios, I've got Christi Bowen. How you doing, Christi?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm really well, thank you. And you're kicking it off today for us. We've known each other quite a long time. And I know we've met each other at so many conferences. Of course, being in different cities, that's how we see each other. I'll tell you though, my friends in LA, that's also where we see each other, is at VO Atlanta.
As at conferences, yes.
So I don't remember how long ago it is that we first met each other.
I was thinking maybe Voice 2012. I think that may have been the first one.
Sounds about right. Was that at Disneyland or Disneyland Hotel?
Yeah, Disneyland Hotel. Yeah, I think it was Voice 2012. And then I think again after that, followed up by a FAFCon.
Yes.
One of the many.
I only ever did the one FAFCon in Ventura, but that one left an impression on me for sure.
Yeah.
Give us a little rundown of your background and your journey. Did you start in broadcast? Did you start theater? Did you come from corporate? Or have you just always been doing this? Where'd you come from?
I worked at a radio station in college. I went to the University of Florida, go Gators, and it was not a normal radio station. It was a 100,000 watt commercial FM. So it was a big time station. And I kept thinking, it'd be cool to be a DJ. Hated being a DJ. Loved writing, producing, and voicing the commercials. I worked in the production department and just fell in love with it. I ended up working weekends every Saturday and Sunday, and my boss came to rely on me and everything else. He's like, you're just a good solid, I can count on you not to say something stupid. And that was nice, but it wasn't my thing. I loved doing the music and I loved the idea of it. Remotes were not my favorite. I don't know, it just didn't feel comfortable for me. I liked just writing and producing those spots was just a highlight. And back then we were doing this on razor blades and cutting things up on reel-to-reel tape. This was not digital. So
old. Come on.
Yes, I am. Believe it or not, I am. It was just a lot of fun to be in that environment and create those things. And I went to school to study production and broadcasting and film and television and everything. And that's what I got my degree in. And when I graduated, moved to Nashville because I had done a internship at a production company. Well, the cable company had its production arm, and I did an internship there, and they hired me after I left college. So ended up doing the same thing I was doing for radio, but for television. So for cable television, we would still go out and film and write and produce, and I would voice a lot of the local television spots that would air on cable TV, and really loved that. Then got out of it for a while. I did a couple of Hollywood movies, worked on film crews, did lots of music videos here in town because we are the home of country music. So lots of country music videos.
Behind the scenes production side of it, a lot of stuff.
All that stuff. Yeah, I was an AD and a script supervisor and a producer and a production coordinator and production secretary and a PA and you name
Were you
all
ever
those.
did you ever hold a boom mic?
I did not hold the boom mic. I did work with a sound guy. Yeah,
That's what I
location
did, yeah.
sound. I was always
Mhm.
very particular for the location sound guy, and I would talk to them, and mostly it was guys, so I say guy with
Yeah,
all due
mostly.
respect to the ladies. There are some now that are doing it, yay,
Yeah,
but
that's
we
true.
would always hit it off because I would always talk to them about their gear and, like, looking at the mics and everything else, and
Yep.
so I still had that affinity for the radio part of it or for the sound part of
Yeah.
it,
Went
which was
from
a lot of
radio
fun.
you it's such an interesting journey because
Yeah.
I started in the
Yeah.
radio side, I did a stint in film production, sound mixing,
Yep.
and then
Yeah.
so that was like the bridge,
Similar
that
arc.
video, TV, film was a part of a bridge to voiceover, it
Yeah.
sounds like.
It really was. I kept getting people asking me all the time. I was always the one that they made answer the phones. In whatever production office I was in, I had to record the recording, and I always had to answer the phones. They always put me front and center. It's like, you be the person they talk to when they come in. Okay. And that was partly because of how I would answer people's questions, either on the phone or in person. But
Professional, you talk pretty.
well, yeah, you sound good, yeah. But it was a lot of fun, and then I worked on after I got done with the Hollywood movie thing, I came back to North Carolina, where I was living at the time, and
Hmm,
then moved back to Tennessee right after I got married, and we ended up getting both my husband and I, because he was in the production area as well, we ended up getting a job with a company called Film House based in Nashville. And it's funny because Tennessee Voiceover Studios is now located in the Film House building. So I came back, which we'll get to in just a minute, but I worked for Film House for almost 12 years on a government contract. We produced radio and television spots for American Forces Radio and Television Service, or the DoD, basically. So if you
mhm,
were a service member stationed overseas or on ships at sea or in American embassies, at the time, the satellite television that they had was called AFRTS, and it was regular television programming packed into just a few channels. And in between the programming, because you might see a CNN show followed by a Fox show, followed by an NBC show, it was everybody allowed their programming to be used for the service members, but they couldn't have commercials. So we replaced all the commercial content with what they called command information. So we produced all that and film and radio, TV and radio. And every now and then I would work with the audio producers and record some of the spots and did a lot of voiceovers for it, and also was a producer and created
mhm.
the things, and just started getting back into doing voiceover through that. And as that contract was ending, I kept thinking, well, gosh, there are other producers on staff. They're doing their thing. They're going to go freelance. I just don't want that rat race, 14-hour days, not knowing where my next job is coming from kind of thing. I end up now
Yeah.
having 14-hour days and don't know where my next job is coming from.
How
But
ironic.
exactly, I was like, "Yeah, well," but I transitioned into full-time VO. I was doing 4-day weeks at the company, and on my 5th day, which was Friday, I launched the voiceover business doing that, and so I would audition all during the week, and then on Fridays, I'd record everything or I'd market myself, and I launched the business so that way when my boss came in and said, "Hey, your last day is gonna be November 30th of 2011." I'm like, "Okay." December 1st, 2011, full-time VO, haven't looked back. Just
That's
straight ahead, straight
fantastic.
forward, so,
I
yeah.
mean, you did a lot of the right decisions along the way, and
Yeah,
having kept the job and fit in your voiceover business where it could fit in, and
yep.
I mean, congratulations. I know when
Thank
I
you.
was kicked out of a job that I had for 4 years, it felt like I was building the plane while you're flying the plane.
Yeah.
This was building the plane while it's crashing towards Earth,
Oh, no. Yeah,
which
that's even
doesn't
worse.
now I say it out loud, it sounds really bad right now with latest,
Oh, yes, we've had a lot of
developments.
things.
But,
Yeah,
yeah, so I know how that feels. It's,
yeah,
pretty amazing to be like, "Okay, I'm being kicked out of the nest, and
yeah.
I'm ready to go now, because I've been
The
building
legwork.
this thing, and now I
Yeah,
know it's okay." There's nothing motivating but having a job to show up to on Monday morning, right?
yeah. It really is. So it worked out well for me. Having a lot of connections in the film and video business and having done it and having a portfolio and that kind of helped
Yep.
because there are a lot of people that don't have that at all. So they're like, "How did you
Hmm.
get started? How did it work for you?" That was also in the early days of the pay to play sites when they hadn't monkeyed with their algorithms and done all the
Hmm.
things they're doing now. And not everybody was doing this after 2020 and COVID. So
Right.
there were some advantages to that. But also just, having been in the business and understanding and talking the language and having hired people, having directed people, I had a few steps ahead from where just normally
Hmm.
starting to go, "Hey, I think I wanna do a voiceover business." But
Yeah.
all of that has really led me to all of that experience, all of the other stuff, as well as now the voiceover business since 2011 has led me to open up Tennessee Voiceover Studios. So that's
Yeah. So, yeah.
yeah.
So going from just working your own business,
Mhm.
you felt like you needed more to do. So you started a studio?
Yeah, yeah, about
How
the
did that
same time as
happen?
my daughter had a baby and everything else, and
Oh,
so
you're a
yeah, it was
grandma
like, "Oh,
too?
yeah."
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
and I'm raising him, so it's, "Oh boy, yeah, I don't have enough on my plate. Let me just add something else." Yeah. But yeah, I started it mainly because I co-founded the meetup group here in Nashville called Tennessee Voiceover Exchange,
Which I
and
went to one time.
this
I
you
was
did,
a
yeah,
guest
you
one
were
time. I
actually
remember
there.
that.
That's right, you actually went in person, which yeah, it was great. We have a lot of people interested, and it was just a constant flow of people wanting to know information and then meeting so many people at different conferences, fellow pros who would come into town because Nashville is a big growing area and it's got a lot of stuff going on. And
Oh, yeah.
people come here all the time for different either business or pleasure, and they're constantly, "Hey, can I have a Source Connect session? Can I borrow your studio?" I'm like, it's in my house, it feels
Mhm.
weird, and some people I have,
Mhm.
that was
Mhm.
fine because they were
I'm letting
really
you
good
know.
friends.
Yeah.
Other people that
Yeah.
I didn't know very well, I'm like,
Right.
Not so good." But
Right.
also the fact that at the time I lived very far away from downtown, and it's like, you don't wanna travel 30 minutes outside of
Right.
downtown to come
I
borrow my
hear you're
booth
in
for
Nashville.
5
Well,
minutes.
I'm Nashville adjacent. It's a do
Adjacent,
you get
yeah,
around?
it's like
Yeah.
in LA. I'm in
Mhm.
LA. What
In
part?
LA
Yeah,
what?
it's huge, yeah.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
similar thing, and also just the people from the meetup group were constantly asking about classes. "How do I get more information about this? When can we have a class on that?" And it just comes like, "Hmm, okay." And Nashville is such a huge growing city. I kept
Yep.
getting information. People kept saying, "Hey, I just moved to
Spreading.
Nashville. My friend so and so said, yeah, I should look you up." And it came to fruition that maybe if I build it, they will come. And I'll tell you for the
Mm.
first year, I was like, "I built the dang thing. Why aren't they here?" I was like, "All
Yeah.
these people said
Right.
they wanted it.
Yes.
Why aren't they here?" And I've almost
That's right.
scrapped it many times. But
Yep.
now we're hitting our stride and it's getting, much better and people are starting to find us and I'm getting studio rental business and I'm getting classes and it's just developed and I'm still
Good for
changing
you.
it. There's a lot of things that are going on with it. So,
It
yeah,
takes
the
time.
business
It really
is
takes
it does. It does.
consistent and persistent. Because yeah, it takes a year or more for people to latch into what you're doing,
Yeah.
trust, to build a brand.
Yep.
And so you to get grind through the first year and stick with it is a big deal. That is really tough.
It is.
Is there
Really
also a lot
hard.
of is there a growth in on-camera activity in Nashville as well
A
right now?
little bit. Yeah, there
Yeah.
is, and, it's funny, in our building so Tennessee Voiceover Studios is actually in the Film House building. So Film House was the company I worked for with a DoD contract. When that contract went away, about that time, also the guy who owned the building and who ran Film House was starting to think about retiring and pulling back from some stuff, and so he's built this gorgeous, beautiful building in a very great part of town. It's very easy to get to, very central to everything, and he turned it into a rental facility for all sorts of stuff. So not only does it have the film production studio, which one company has been running now for about 2 years, but it has a lot of other offices and things. And I happened to run into my friend who had worked there. We had worked together. He's the kind of their building manager. And he said, "Hey," I said, "I'm thinking about doing this thing." He said, "Well, come over and check out the space. I think we have a good spot for you." And I went over and I went nuts. I was like, I wanna do this. I wanna build this. And so I rented space there. I've since moved to a bigger space within the building, and it's a much better layout because the other one had lots of windows, and that was not good for voiceover and for teaching
Problematic.
classes of sound. Beautiful view,
Yeah.
not so good for
Beautiful view.
sound. So, yeah.
We'll try to grab some stills and stuff.
It's still a smaller space, and I'm hoping eventually to need more, but for right now, it's great. I
Awesome
got
that
it.
you have these
Yeah,
opportunities to move within the building instead of
yeah,
having to relocate out of, not that moving's easy,
yeah,
but moving a bit different place within the facility
yeah,
is pretty awesome. That's a really cool
it is.
opportunity. Describe a little bit more about the facility. Is it a booth and a control room?
Mhm.
Is it multiple booths? So how do you have it set up?
I have it set up there's a Whisper Room booth. So and Whisper Room is a Tennessee company, so one of the things
Yep.
I wanted to do, being Tennessee Voiceover Studios,
Knoxville,
was
right?
a yeah, they're outside of Knoxville, yeah. They sure are. So, the shipping for me was not as much, still a lot. They still had to hire a semi truck to get there and deliver the darn thing, but, I wanted to partner with them because of the fact that they're a Tennessee company, and I have one
Of
at
course.
home, so to be able to match my work there and at home, that way it kinda help. But put a booth in there. I wanna eventually expand that booth and get it a little larger for multiple people to be in there and just change the setup. When you first start, so here's how much money I have. I'm gonna start this way, and if I
Right.
grow and expand, I can, and that's what I'm hoping to do in the next couple of years. But
First
you've
thing
got a
to do is
whisper.
raise your roof. Go as high a roof as you can manage in your
That's
booth.
a good idea. Okay, good to know
It
that. Thank
is a
you. Yeah.
dramatic difference in terms of sound when you
Yeah.
get the ceiling above the head as much as possible. That's a common
Good.
thread you'll see in all the best commercial studios. Not only
Oh,
are they
good.
physically large, right? But the
Yeah.
ceilings are often 10, 12 feet high.
Ooh.
GTT.
Achieve the polished professional sound you need with George the Tech.
And
That's
it's
good to
such a
know.
misnomer that a high ceiling is
Yeah.
bad. It's actually really good because you
Yeah.
you want to
Sounds
get rid
fun.
of all the resonances and the bounces off the ceiling, and the further away it is, the
The
better.
better that
So,
is, the
yeah,
easier.
that's
That's
something
good to
to
know.
aspire to. Yeah, when
That's
you
good
when
to
you
know. I'd love to
expand.
do that. The ceilings are very high in that room anyway, so that's
Mhm.
good. It
You've got room to go up.
upgrade. Yes, I have room to go
That's the
up, and I
problem
have
with
room to go
residences.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with residential spaces, 8-foot ceilings, extremely restrictive
Yeah.
as to what you can do. So having a commercial building,
Yeah.
just because I'm gonna geek out for a minute or
Yeah.
two.
Yeah.
Is the building itself quiet? Do you have issues with the HVAC and the heating system? Do you hear it
I do have a
droning
little
and vibrating?
bit of a problem with that. The original space that I wanted to rent, which was very large and had a separate office within that big area, because I could have the area for classes and then I could have an office for myself and whatever, I couldn't do because the entire building's HVAC system was directly above, and the noises were just horrendous. So I was like, "Okay,
Mhm,
that won't work." I
mhm.
am actually in the former tech room, which is not good because it had lots of vents in there to keep the tech cool. Because on either side of me there's
Hmm.
still one video edit bay, and the other room has now been walled off, but it was an edit bay as well. So I'm in the middle room, which held all the gear at one point. So they had lots of air conditioning in there because of the fact that it
How
had
did you
CVOX.
Oh, so you're dealing with it more on a technical level more than,
Yeah.
killing it from
Yeah,
the
they have helped me as much as they can. They had some
Yeah.
HVAC guys come out, and they did what they could to mitigate as much of it as possible, but there is still some there, and that's something I
Is
can't
it
control, but
more
they
of a
are.
low frequency rumbly
Yeah,
sound, or is it more of
yeah,
a broadband noise?
it's a low frequency.
That's good.
So, yeah, it's still there, but when you close the door to the booth, it's just like, "Whoa, what just happened?" And that's even
That's good.
before
I will
you.
tell you because that's always what happens. In fact, study very short. A client of mine had a double wall whisper room. He rented an
Mhm.
office space because his kids were young and teenagers, and he's, I need a private, quiet place to record. He rented an
Mhm.
office space in a building in Calabasas, put a nice
Oof.
double walled, pretty big whisper room in there. And one time he called me over and he's like, George, I got problems. And
Oh,
I said,
no.
let's check it out. And when you went into his booth and shut the door, the
Mhm.
low frequency standing wave from the HVAC system louder.
Oh, wow. Oh, poor
It created
guy.
a resonant chamber that was
Oh,
tuned
no.
to that
To that.
frequency. And here's what was even worse.
Oh.
This is one of those thunder throat guys that does
Oh.
horror movie trailers, super low
Oh.
end voice. And so I'm like
Yeah.
trying to like high pass out the rumbly and not
And it's
lose
getting
the
him.
sound of his. And he's on a Neumann like 140, some crazy expensive
Oh.
and it was like all the like worst possible case. I was like, dude,
Uh-oh.
you're
You
gonna
gotta
have to
get a new place.
move. You're in the
Yeah.
wrong place in this build because he made the
Oh,
assumption, well, if I get the walled booth, then it's
right.
gonna fix the problem. Not
Yeah.
when it's a frequency at it's the
Yeah.
same
Yeah,
resonant
his
frequency
frequency
of your
and
space.
the
It was these things happen. So that's great. I'm
Oh,
really glad that just a little bit of
yeah.
processing and
Yeah.
knocks down the majority of it. You can just
It
work
really
and
does. It
that's
does. It
awesome.
works. It's great. I have a U87 and a 416 in there, and I also have a 103 TLM 103 sitting in a box in case I need it. So
But
I've
it's
got
not
those
either
3.
the mic you have right in front of you is none of those mics.
No,
And so
it's not.
I'm
I'm at
trying to
home.
identify it
I
from
am
the
at
head
home.
basket. Yes, you're at home. So I'm trying to identify the mic from the head basket. It's killing me because I
I
think
can
I
move
know
it a
what it
little bit if
is,
you
but
want.
okay, just
Let's
pull
see
it
if I
down
can actually, it's gonna be
slowly.
easier to do the camera. Hold on.
Okay, okay. Oh, actually, what is that?
It's a Roswell RAVO. Thank you, Jordan
Oh, it's a
Reynolds.
Roswell. I just
Yep.
interviewed Matt at
Yeah.
NAM,
Yeah.
and he let me know he told me that microphone was the genesis
Yes.
of the microphone that they sell now, the K series of
Yeah,
mics.
the
He
K
told me
series.
I
Yeah.
interviewed. Yeah, but that's a
Yeah.
fantastic mic. Our friend Jordan
I
helped,
love it. I
and it is a
love
great
this
mic.
mic. It is just so fantastic. I love it. As soon as I started using it, I had one client call me. "What did you do to your studio?" And I thought, "Oh no, I forgot to tell him about my new microphone." He's like, "Never change it again. Don't go back to what you had. Whatever you have now, keep it. It's fantastic." Because I kept thinking he was going to get mad at me. He's like, "No, this
Right.
is great." I'm like, "Thank
I love
you."
it.
So yeah, I love
So
it
you've got
for
so
my
while we're
voice.
on the subject of gear,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, we've got the Ravo. That's no longer manufactured, but it's made by a
Right.
company called Roswell Audio Labs, I think,
Mhm.
and
Roswell Pro
great
Audio,
company.
yeah.
Roswell
Yeah,
Pro Audio, great small
yeah.
company and really over there. Then you've got it
Yep.
plugged into you mentioned C-Suite, so then I know you must
Mhm.
have an Apollo.
I do have that at the studio, yes. So at the studio, I've got the Apollo Twin, so I've got the
Mhm,
C-Suite on that. Jordan Reynolds
mhm,
helped me tweak everything and go through and set it
mhm.
all up and do what I need to do. I've got the 2 mics, and I switch between them, and then, of course, I got the TLM 103 if that's better because I've had
Yep,
some studio rental clients need that because that's just what they use at home, and so when they come and they need to do
right.
something, I have that as
When
well.
you're running a facility, that's why you have to have multiple mics
Mic
versus
locker.
being an actor at home, yeah.
Exactly, so I have those. It's in the whisper room. I've got ATS acoustic panels all over the wall in
Gotta
there
love it.
from top to bottom, different things, and that's basically what I've got. I'm running Twisted Wave, but I'm getting Pro Tools right now, so that's being integrated at the moment. I don't do while I'm a studio, it's more about the coaching and simple studio rental. I am not a Nashville studio with
Yeah.
all the
You're not
bells and
mixing
whistles.
Atmos there? There's no
No,
Atmos?
no, I can recommend a few studios, that won't be
Oh,
me. Yeah,
yeah.
we provide what we provide for the community and for
Yeah,
people who
it's a
come into town.
specialized service. Yeah,
It is. It's a specialized service, but for coaching and teaching people and for the one-off people come into town, need a studio to record in. I've had so many friends that we both know come into town and need a place to record, and they're like, "This is awesome. Thank you. It's better than my pillow
yeah,
fort," whatever. And then I've just had people find me through Google searching, "Hey, we have a client who happens to be in your market," or they're coming to town to do something else and we have to do a session. Can we book you? Absolutely. That's what I'm here for. That's what I do. So the studios is doing 2 things. It's coaching people and offering classes as well as studio rental. And the studio
mhm,
rental is something I wanna try to start really leaning into this coming year, but I'm actually working right now to update the website to have a page specifically for that, so it's a little easier
mhm,
to send that to people to say, "Hey, if you're
mhm.
here," and I'll randomly see people on different social media about coming to town. I'm like, "Hey, if you need a place to record, let me know. I got you covered." And sometimes they do reach out, so that's nice.
I love
And
it.
it's good
So
to have people come in.
let's
So,
switch gears
yeah.
into let's switch into a little bit of sales mode.
Sure.
Tell us about what you're offering over there at TVS. Tell us what
Yeah.
services you provide. Tell us what's the best way to work with you and all that.
Sure. So Tennessee Voiceover Studios, basically, when I started for the coaching part, I wanted to focus on what I call the 3 stars of voiceover. The Tennessee state symbol and what's in our logo is 3 stars within a circle. And to me, there are 3 pillars that you have to have a successful voiceover career: performance, business, and technical. And the performance part, you have to know how to act. You have to understand how to interpret copy. You have to understand the different genres and what they require. So we offer performance coaching for newer people, and I will bring in people like Mary Lynn Wisner is coming in or going to be here virtually sometime in
Mhm.
April. And I've had like Sarah Jane Sherman and Everett Oliver come to town to hold workshops. So we offer the performance coaching. Then the business part is definitely an area that I focus on, and I'll circle back to that a little bit because I've
Oh,
got
good.
a larger sales pitch there.
Go.
But then also the technical, letting people understand what's required to build a home studio or to be viable, what you have to do the tech wise. You are on our website and we recommend you all the time. I'm like, get George to help you with that. You need to call so and so. You need to check this out. And also, Anthony Gettig has recently moved here. And I know you've probably met Anthony
I've known him
before.
forever because of the same circles, and
Yeah.
I've seen him popping up now on social media and sharing
Yeah.
some things there again, and so I didn't know that. That's great because
Yeah, he moved
he
to
wasn't he a
town.
Michigan guy or something
Yeah,
for the
very
longest
big
time?
Michigan guy forever, but
Yeah,
yeah, he
so
moved to town recently, and so I've tapped him to be our resident local audio
oh,
coach and everything because he's here
yeah,
and he can talk to people and maybe pop in if they hire him to pop into their house and fine tune
yep,
their studio or whatever. Can we just help people out with that
yep,
aspect of the
he's very
tech?
knowledgeable, yep.
Yeah.
He knows the Pro
So
Tools side and the Twisted Wave side.
exactly. He knows both of those sides, and he also has an ear for being able to say, "Yeah, this is probably not the best gear for you. Try
Yep,
this."
yep.
So it's nice to have that in town. There's so many people in town that do everything having to do with audio, but a lot of
I'll
it's
tell you
focused
though
on
that
music.
really
So
voiceover is a specific thing.
it's
This was
specific.
when I
It's
moved to
not the same.
LA to a center of production hub, but there
Yeah.
was a reason why I started voiceover support was nobody was
Yep.
doing it.
That's
And there
right.
was such a limited
Yeah.
amount of understanding of how unique the sound of producing voiceover is, the technology, but not the uniqueness of voice actors. They're
Right.
actors.
Yeah.
They're not
Yeah.
technical, and they have so it's a different thing completely. So I totally
It
get that.
is.
So
It
that's nice
is,
that
and
you
that's
have
what
that.
we wanna talk about. We don't wanna just say not that we're experts in it, and of course, I'm constantly referring people to people like yourself and your services because you specialize in that, but we let people know what the resources are for them and then
Yep.
provide resources here in town, like through Anthony and several other people that we've had in the past that will help with answer
Mhm.
those questions. But then it's just a matter of having that all those elements and letting them know that these are the things you need to learn. It's not just the performance coaching. Yes, you wanna be a voice actor, you wanna be in animation because most everyone's like, "I wanted to always be in a cartoon, I've always wanted to do video games." That's
Yep.
great. I'm gonna bring in the people that coach that stuff or recommend them go to study with so and so. But the thing that I focus on a lot, just because it's my strong suit from my history and everything else, is the business part of it. And I have a class called Career Path that we really focus on the business aspect of voiceover. Because if you don't understand how to, great that you can act, but do you know how to send an invoice? Are you good at following up? Do you know how to market yourself? What are you doing on your website? What are the things that
My
aren't
opinion,
working for you?
I think you should start literally with that class because if
Yeah.
that intimidates you and you don't wanna be doing that stuff,
Then
go
don't get into this.
find
Yeah,
something else to do.
exactly, and that's
So
what I teach
important. Yeah.
everybody, and it's called Career Path, and it's a 12-week course. It is not for the faint of heart, it's 12 weeks. Right now, it is in person and or virtual, but I am getting ready to launch the online version. It's all been
Good.
filmed, we are editing it right now, it will be available, it's going to be on a platform where I can drip it out, so instead of buying the course and you get all of it, and then nobody ever finishes a course, let's be honest, it will be dripped out and they have to do their homework and everything else, and there's a community built with it. So everybody who's
Cool.
taken Career Path in the past is going to be in this community as well, and we're gonna have live sessions. Hey, every
Okay.
Thursday at 3 or whatever it is, we're gonna have a session check-in. What roadblocks are you coming up with? What wins have you had? What interesting thing did you find out about? Hey, did you hear the news? Whatever. We're gonna build
Mm.
that community, but
I'm gonna
Career
be
Path.
tapping your brain about this a little
Yeah,
bit because we need to be
absolutely.
doing better on the education side. Making
Yeah.
videos is fine,
Yeah,
but
and it
what
works,
that
but yeah.
is far more of a better educational process.
It
Really
really
cool.
is. I wanna create the community around it, and the reason I chose the name Career Path is because everybody has to chart their own journey. I'm gonna give you the roadmap. How you
Mhm.
interpret that roadmap and how you wanna get from what is your starting point to your end point my final destination is not necessarily somebody else's final destination, but I can give you the roadmap so that you can then chart that journey and get where you need to go. That's what Career Path is about. And that's my big class right now that I want to offer to everybody, along with
Hmm.
the other things in technical and performance. I want to educate people the right way because most of the people out there are providing the thing that they know in their niche, and that's great. And that's what I'm doing with Career Path. But a lot of people study with their performance coaches as they should. They get demo ready, they get a demo, and then that's it. They're cut off. They're like, okay, I've got my demo, I'm ready to go. But
Mm-hmm.
are you though? And because I get the panicked questions from everybody and have for years. Oh my gosh, I got this audition. I don't know what to do. What do I label the file? They don't even know how to do a directed session or what a directed session means. When
Yeah.
you focus on performance, those coaches are focusing on the performance as they should. That's what they do. That's what they're being hired for. But then once the people are out in the wild and on their own, they don't know what they don't know. They don't
Mm-hmm.
know taxes. What do I do about taxes?
Yeah.
What's a
Yeah.
W-9? All this stuff that comes up that they don't
Quarterly
know
estimated
to begin with.
payments, huh?
Yeah, it's like, "What? I have to do what? Oh, you mean all that money's
No,
not
I learned that
mine?"
way too late.
Yeah, did
I
you?
needed
I got
needed
hit, yeah.
all this stuff 15, 20 freaking years ago.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just setting
Uh,
you up. It's my knowledge, a lot of other people's knowledge in the industry. I have special guests. Mark Scott has been a special guest many times. So about when we talk about marketing and branding, I have Tom Deere come in and talk
I was
about your
gonna say
mission
Tom Deere
statement.
is a no-brainer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. He comes in and talks about your why, developing your mission statement, developing healthy habits in creating your to-do lists and doing the things you need to
Mhm.
do to run a business. I also have my dear friend Brianne Hennessy, who was a speech language pathologist and she vocal health specialist, and she
Wow.
talks about vocal health and how that's connected to your mental health and everything else, and the fact that if you're not mentally healthy and you're not feeling good, you're not going to give the best performance. So all of those things, and I've got special guests who appear throughout the course to lend their voice as well as mine, and even the information I'm teaching is a conglomeration of a lot of people who I will always
Wow.
acknowledge and say, "Hey, I learned this from so and so, and here's how I've adapted and used it, and there it is for you." So that's what we
Awesome.
do. That's what Career Path is, and that's my big course right now that I'm really proud of for
So this
developing
video is
from the beginning.
evergreen, right? It's gonna
Yeah,
be up for
yeah.
so by the time some of you see this class will hopefully be out. Do you have a target
Mhm.
month this year where you might
I
launch it,
am
or you're still
hoping
not sure yet?
for March or April of 2025.
Yeah.
We're in the edit process now. It's then developing the marketing strategy and getting the
Mhm.
website set up for where it will live and then connecting it to the platform that it will be living on and getting that community set up and everything else. And so, yeah, I want to give myself time to do it right. We filmed it in
Yeah.
July last year. So it's been in the process for a while, but I'd rather not rush it. I'd rather do it the right way. So that way it's
So
out
you
there for
just say you
people.
have a minimal issue with ADHD, that's not your big problem? Because
No,
that's me.
yeah, it's not really that, it's just I have too many things going on in life. I'm running 2 businesses, raising a 3-year-old. It's
Yeah.
yeah, dealing with other family stuff. It's, "Oh, yeah, when do I sleep? When was that?"
Yeah.
Yeah, but I
Yeah,
love
that's so
doing this.
great. I wanna know more
Yeah,
about that program. You and I will talk offline because I wanna know more about
absolutely.
the nuts and bolts of how you're
Yeah,
doing that
yeah,
and take that kind of educational technology and programming into what we're doing more so instead of just say, "Here's a bunch of videos, pick a few and watch them."
yeah,
So, yeah, I would love to talk to you more about that. I really
absolutely.
appreciate your being here today.
Great
Congrats on
talking
the
with you, George.
launch, and
Thank
gotta
you.
gotta visit Nashville this year. It's been a few years since I've been in
Yeah,
Nashville,
please
so
come.
it's
Everyone's always
well
welcome.
overdue.
Yeah, well, thank
Awesome.
you for
Thanks,
having
Christy.
me.
Appreciate your time today.
Thanks, you too.
George the Tech.